Yeah, yeah. I won't be able to cover it all. We don't have time. But YouTube, we've been doing this. Some of us, 4 years plus. For the first 3 years, YouTube basically let us run unchecked. They were promoting this at just about every turn. And in the last 12 months, and they said this publicly in a government subcommittee meeting to Google, that they were going to recommend us less because we were saturating the market to such a degree that we were becoming a problem. When it comes to the numbers, though, I thought it was fascinating that, in the middle of last summer, we were at 20.9 million search results on YouTube, not Google, but actually YouTube. And then all of a sudden, search results were removed entirely, not just for us, but for every topic in the history of YouTube. And that's Internet 101. That just doesn't happen for any particular reason. And part of it was because we're tracking. We just keep trending higher and higher. The U.gov poll that was done back in 2017, which said that the demographics, at least in the United States, the 18 to 24-year-olds, we were skewing 34% against the globe. That's a huge number. And they legally can't talk to anyone under the age of 18, but we watched videos just recently that under 20 were skewing 50%. And that really worries them, which is why National Geographic was concerned.
That's tried to circumnavigate, and they were logging like those kind of miles. Now, is there a ring beyond that? We don't know. There are maps that show that. You have some interesting statements by characters like Admiral Byrd saying that there's land the size of the United States on the other side of the South Pole.
Which, by the way, that map actually portrays.
Right, it does. Yeah, interesting. So, it's anybody's guess right now.
So the population control people has been murdering babies, aborting babies for thousands of years, thinking that we're going to get overpopulated when there might be possibilities that God designed it so that we can't overpopulate.
If you want, you can send the people to Argentina. We have a really good place there. If you start looking into those numbers and trying to compare in terms of the size of the world, we still have a lot of room to put people. But the problem is that within government, it's an eugenetic government. They started with Darwin and Malthus before they appeared, and then came UNESCO, which was found by all these organizations, all these families. It's really nice also to look into the flat earth with the historic base, not just physical or astrophysics way, but also the historical part of the flat earth is really bring you some light to the topic, because after all, we're trying to figure out who is in power and why they hide this information, and all is just the same family, the same names appear, and that is also that we're trying to expose.
And just to let Bob joined us, Bob Leo, he's also here. So if you guys have any, some of the technical questions, he's done a lot of research, has a background in science and engineering. So welcome, Bob. Next question. Anybody else? Yes, again.
Yeah. I'm sorry to speak your name. Yeah.
Me, Bob?
In the middle.
Oh, you.
Oh, you just mentioned. I was just going to ask why.
Why they
lie?
Why they hide it? Okay. No. Well, I believe in that topic. Maybe everybody has his own perspective. In my way, I try to compare. I am a spiritual guy nowadays, and I made a long time ago. I made that same question when I was young. Like why the church, why the Catholic Church, why the Vatican like to tell a story that they cannot prove. Of course, you can say, well, that is faith, it's based on faith, but they, quote unquote, this is my opinion, my personal opinion. They lie, and someone who lied to you is trying to control you. Of course, everybody knows that the institutions like just a religious story. They control economics, they control financial things, they control military things. We are under the Roman Empire.
If I can go.
Yeah.
And I know there's time, but why
for control.
Yeah, I agree, you know, yes, there entities lie, and there's been reports, but why specifically that the earth is flat and not round?
Well,
What's the
let me
idea?
just close with this because I know
I'm just trying to
it's a long
understand
answer, but if you go to the heliocentric model, you're gonna start looking at Copernicus, Kepler, Galileo. They're all from the Jesuit order. So the same guys that lie you, or at least in my opinion, lie me in terms of their religious story, they also created heliocentric model. And the heliocentric model for everyone here is based on faith because you never see the curve, you're never going to go to space, you never feel the spinning earth. It's based faith religion called heliocentric. If you take the heliocentric model in the philosophical, base is turning around the sun. And if you go, for example, to the Masons, they also worship the sun. If you go to other cultures, they always worship the sun. So it's the same philosophical thing, but it's like a new religion covered or hidden based on mathematics and physics. So for me, why they lie? Because with lies you control people.
Yeah,
And
knowledge is power, right?
yeah,
So,
knowledge is
Sure,
power.
but why specifically?
Well,
Like, I mean,
For
fire,
keep them
cover up.
higher, man.
Did you see
I don't mean to
the
start it back and forth. but I
No.
know it's-
No,
that's
no,
not
no,
what it's
it's-
designed.
Yeah. I mean,
You know me, I have a big mouth. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, can I
Yeah,
give?
go ahead.
Let me
Go
give
ahead. I
you-
just didn't wanna-
Let me give a quick generic answer, and that is, let's say our best and brightest didn't figure out the true shape of this world until about 1960. Remember, the space program has not been around that long. NASA was founded in 1958. Let's say they didn't figure it out until 1960. Would you tell the general public? You as a journalist would probably say, oh yes, truth people need to know. But think about what had been established at that point, the foundations of science by 1960. You can't just release that sort of thing to the people because the shockwaves would be almost insurmountable, potentially. Think education or economic or religious and spiritual. Educational, every university in every country, you would have to retool all the physical sciences from the ground up. Economic, nowadays, given how twitchy everything is, you'd have to close world markets for months. And then finally, spiritual, you're giving the 5 major religious houses of this world, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity, you'd be giving them leverage against science, who has been beating them over the head with textbooks for the last 5 centuries. That's a short meeting. It's like, oh yeah, do we tell the public? No, you don't tell them. I wouldn't tell the public. Not until you were ready to do this, where I think one of the reasons why we're kind of being allowed to do this, and that is, look what is in place right now, a massive infrastructure, high-speed internet, and 6 billion smartphones. Now, one of the reasons we're resonating could also be the reason why it's being allowed to get out. We're not getting much resistance, let's put it that way. We're getting token resistance from science and the media at this point.
I think economically too, it makes a big difference when you realize that if you take the music industry and you add to that the movie industry, add to that the box office industry, add to that video game industry, you're not even close to the space industry. So people fail to realize how massive the space industry is. It's spread across the entire earth. Everybody uses it with their citizens, gets tax money, and the money goes back into the community. That's one thing I think people fail to realize with space is that it's not like they're taking the money out to space and just throwing it around. It really goes back into the community. So if NASA is telling us lies, yet they're still spending money. That money goes to JPL, that money goes to these other organizations. They pay their funds, everybody's happy, and plus you're telling the story and building fantasies in people's minds. It's just not the truth, in my opinion. So.
Next question. Yes. Let me go right here real quick.
Thanks. Noticed Robbie Davidson on an interview the other day. He said the movement's expanding, and there was when he said that, I remembered on the website for this conference, on the profile for Mark Sargent, there was one of the commenters was a man from the Jain religion in India, which I know was similar to Hinduism, Buddhism, that general spectrum, but it's a religion that's preserved flat earth. They're a minority within India, but since ancient times, I just wonder, as the movement expands, is there perhaps a plan at some point to have a Jain speaker at one of the conferences, or someone from a religion like that, that has that centuries or thousands of years with from someone from that perspective at one of the conferences, or a conference at India with James speaking.
I'll comment on it because you're bringing up other religions. As
Yes,
long
sir.
as there's people that come forward and we get to know them, because it's even more than just people that are doing significant work in Flat Earth. It's about kind of a mentality of getting along with one another. So absolutely, I definitely would say all religions would be welcome in the future. We just don't know at this point many ones that are in Islam, you know, that are doing significant work that we could all even mention right now. So once we do, absolutely, there'll be, I would say in the future, there'll be ones talking about the Quran and Flat Earth. There'll be all different religions because again, this thing covers all people. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this movement isn't specific to any one religion, as Robin mentioned, it's a broad base. So the conference itself, over the years, it's one of the things, and why I've stayed the director as long as I have, is because of the broad spectrum that we have across different people, belief systems, and the way they view it. And like you mentioned earlier, every gentleman on this panel might believe something different. You know, some believe that it's an infinite plane, somebody that has a firmament. There's all different, you know, there's more land outside of the ice walls. There's so many different things that brought. That's one of the good things about this conference and where it doesn't give people questions.
Let me add to that. The reason we have those different beliefs are not necessarily us on the panel, but the reason those different beliefs exist is because nobody has access to Antarctica. Nobody is allowed to go there. People say, well, millions of people go there every year. Well, it's not millions. There's 15 companies, which is really only one company. It costs you $10,000 to $15,000 to go for 3 days. They'll show you the edge, they'll show you some pavements. If they're lucky, they'll take you outwards a little way, show you the hole in the ground, tell you the south pole, and that's the end. Nobody is allowed to go beyond that. You know, and if you want to do exploration, it costs you hundreds of thousands of dollars and years just for the permits, and you'll get denied. So,
Not to mention that you can't go below 60 degrees south and carry fuel. So when we're saying that the ice edge might be 50,000 miles circumference, it's physically impossible for anybody to go and explore that because they don't allow you to take any fuel down below 60 parallel south. So what are you going to do if you go down there with a boat full of gas? You'll be able to take that boat to the very edge of Antarctica and come back to land. That's it. You're not even able to start going in any direction, east or west, and try and circumnavigate it. If you look up Captain Cook, he tried to do that, and he said he went for 50 or 60,000 miles, and to the east and west, they never saw anything but an ice wall, and he was never able to go around it. Well, that's very confusing to him, who thought he was living on a globe, to try and, but he's going around Antarctica and never seeing a way to get around it.
On the
They never figured it out.
on the media kit that I've handed out to some of you guys, I actually put the full-blown Antarctic tree on it. By all means, look through it. It is bulletproof. It's one of those secret things that we put up there.
I keep finding at the cruise tube.
Oh no, you don't. No.
That's just one of those stories that came out that.
That's a rumor.
Yeah,
It was a rumor.
That's another
it was a
thing
rumor
yes, too.
spread by a
Yeah.
UK media guy that said we were going to take a cruise from Miami down to Antarctica because he thought, oh, they're going to look for the edge of the Earth, and it caught on, and so I get asked about
and
that.
so the news media did what they do. They run without checking any sources or looking into the facts.
Yeah.
So no offense, but
Yeah.
we're offended.
Another journalist said that we don't believe that the Australian people was real, it was paid
Right.
from NASA, that kind of ridiculous
Those are
thing
the
that-
kind of stories that get spread very quickly.
If you want to see the top 20 things we don't believe, look for a story called "Top 20 Proofs that the Earth is a ball."
Yeah,
What was it?
Flat, yeah.
Top 20 proofs that the Earth is flat, and it's all nonsense.
Which is why we started with the paperwork. So if you did mention it, if you came in late, see me afterwards. I have a handout that Rob Skiba put together of 10 things that you need to know if you're going to be reporting and researching this topic. Next question, Matt.
Yeah, what's the guy's name on the end again?
David.
Is there like an app I can go check out that helps kind of explain what the flat Earth is?
Thanks for asking that, Matt. There is for those people that really want to learn, there's an app called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. It's on Google, it's on Apple, and every day it serves you a new video that'll teach you something that YouTube is hiding from you. That you got to ask yourself, why are they hiding that? And it shows you how the model works, how seasons work, how the weather works, how the weather patterns are perfect circles on a flat Earth map rather than these crazy slopes they show us on a globe. So it's a great tool for teaching yourself, and then once you learn yourself, your responsibility is to go teach some other
Plus,
people.
one of the things it has in there is an FAQs where you can click that.
Yeah, all the
FAQ.
questions, all the we got you flat earth questions,
Yeah.
they're all answered on there, and I serve you a playlist, because if someone said, hey, how does circumnavigation work? And I send you a video I made called Circumnavigation for Dummies, the next video up is gonna be served by YouTube, and it's gonna be how, circumnavigation works on a globe, and it'll be nonsense. So, it's a way around to get information.
The app actually
I
sends you a
have one more
playlist.
question, but, from what I understand, you can't get out from under this dome or firmament, and so NASA's lying to us about getting to Mars or any other planet, right? Or even getting outside of that dome.
Sure.
Yeah.
Could you explain that to me?
First of all, I just want to make a really short answer, but like Kyrie Irving said, never the machines that NASA send never get back. So it's like it's money paper that go for someone else, and they put this story that we send the Curiosity to Mars. That is, for example, the Voyager 2 supposedly leave yesterday. Our solar system, and it's all CGI based. We don't see nothing for real, really. The guys that works at NASA, they receive telemetry that can be fed by a computer to the next door. So nothing never come back. The other space agency never sent, for example, a crew to the moon to check out if really United States land on the moon. No, they send to the others, like China, send it to the other side of the moon to see if the worms can grow, still. If we are really in war, in terms of that story that every time we need wars and wars, why they don't go to check out the moon landing, for example? And you start making this nonsense story and how money goes by, and you understand why they start creating this.
So that's it, the money to take away the tax
That's part of
money.
it, and also the reality behind it is because of the fact that, really the individual governments in the world are kind of an illusion. There's actually people that are behind the governments, and this is a worldwide thing. Most of them are like the banking cartel, et cetera. So, people will often ask, well, yeah, maybe NASA's lying, but what about all the other space agencies? Well, the fact is, unfortunately, is that, they have to, once they're in this, they have to kind of keep propagating this lie. And it is so easy to actually catch them in the CGI, and the moon landings are unbelievably.
So President Donald Trump's Space Force is all a farce too.
It's all a farce, yes, unfortunately. And like I said, the proof of that is overwhelming.
Yeah, the media must be read also the NASA Blue Beam project, which is official document that came from the ONU. So that is also that maybe you want to check out, because there you have a lot of information about what is coming on, which is this kind of fake alien invasion. And in fact, maybe you heard this and you say, this guy is crazy, but you have all the presidents from the United States going to the ONU and give the speech where, for example, Ronald Reagan or Clinton, whatever you want to pick up, they say, we need an alien invasion to unite the world and transform one. And why these guys want to give this kind of speech in this institution? If not, they have, already a plan, a process to create this fake. The real document, check out NASA Blue Beam project.
And Werner von Braun also told that, to his assistant, Dr. Carol Rosen, a long time ago. He was saying, all of this is working up to, they're going to make these fake enemies, and basically he's dictating what we have actually gone through in our future as far as 9/11, who's going to be the bad guy, and ultimately it will all culminate in an alien invasion. All of this is part of the need to weaponize space. I mean, it's all coming true. Everything Dr. Werner von Braun said is actually, just.
Question.
I think mostly for Ralph Skiba, but anyone else who studied the biblical model. Have you ever looked into the Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, and the tree of life, and how that model organizes?
Anybody else? Lived in a Jewish Kabbalah?
I do find it interesting. I haven't looked into it myself, but I find it interesting that people like Michio Kaku and others are saying it's the Kabbalah that's inspiring their science.
Kabbalah says we're inside of spheres, they're called spheroids.
Yes, yeah, and in fact, I am not an expert, but some guys from the Kabbalah thought that the Big Bang cosmology was applied in there. his book. But also when you go to the, biblical cosmology, of course, George Lamet was the priest that created the Big Bang theory, the Big Bang cosmology. And then they put the scientists for the public, like Edwin Hubble, that supposedly he take all the predictions and mathematics behind the Big Bang cosmology. But always is the church. For example, if I ask you who measured the distance from the Earth to the Sun, maybe nobody knows. But it was a Jesuit priest called Maximilian Hell. Why that is not taught in schools, for example? Why nobody talks about the Athanasius Kirchner, the other Jesuit that predict that the Earth has a core, molten core, iron molten core. So every time you look into the heliocentric model, it's a Jesuit, specifically a Jesuit behind it. That is something to question, a little bit.
Yeah, it's really, I guess what led, from my perspective, a lot of these men into this conference is the questioning. People being willing to question the paradigm that we actually live in. In the media, you all know, you guys became journalists and reporters to question things, to question the establishment, correct? To do your own research. That's why you're media. That's why you guys do that. So that's what this whole press conference and this conference is about. We want you guys to start asking the questions as you are today. Because once you start asking the questions, actually doing the investigation, you'll be really surprised at what you find and what reveals itself to you. Question in the back, yes.
So it's twofold. I'm producing a documentary called Search for the Edge of the Earth. And so one is if there was one proof or one test or one experiment that could be done that is basically undeniable, all the cognitive dissonance is a real thing, what would that be? And then two is if I wanted to hire a private plane and fly that plane to find the edge of the Earth and or the firmament and or whatever is there, how would I go about doing that?
No, you're gonna have a military plane beside your plane and say,
What's the name of Taboo Conspiracy's video? The
Antarctica. Sorry, Antarctica. Sorry, we're closed.
Yeah, look up the video. Sorry, Antarctica, or Antarctica, sorry,
Sorry,
we're
we're
closed.
closed.
By Taboo Conspiracy.
Yeah.
He goes through the end and tells you everything you're going to need to know and why it would be impossible for you to do that.
But according to the flat Earth, I mean, I'm not an expert on this. I'm trying to figure out. But isn't the Antarctica like circling the entire Earth?
Yes.
So that means, so you're saying that every single 360 degree of the entire thing is impossible to get to because it's all guarded by.
But like I said, how are you going to get there? If you take a plane and you don't know where you're going to land in Antarctica, what are you going to do? You're just going to fly there and you're going to have to immediately turn around and come back. Remember, even from South America, the tip of South America to Antarctica is 700 miles. Just that little.
Well, that's not very far in a plane.
When you get to Antarctica, Antarctica, instead of saying the ice wall, so everybody thinks Game of Thrones, think of it as the shoreline that surrounds the world ocean. So you get there, it's a 200-foot cliff. Then there's a plane that goes on for 200-300 miles, 500 miles, whatever it is, and then it hits a mountain range that's 2 miles high that goes all the way around. Antarctica is the highest, coldest, darkest place on Earth. Okay, so if you fly a plane down there, one, you don't know where you're going. There's no GPS down there. The compasses don't work down there. So where are you going into the dark? What's going to happen is if you allow anyone to do that, either they're going to disappear and they're going to go, these crazy explorers, got lost in Antarctica and crashed their plane, and now we can't rescue them. So, that confirms why we don't allow flights to go over Antarctica. No one's ever flown over Antarctica and come out the other side. No one's gone from Santiago, Chile, and gone over to Australia. Nobody's gone from Santiago, Chile, and took a little route right across the bottom. Instead, they go all the way up to America, over to Dubai, and all the way back down. Laid out on a flat Earth map, it's a straight line.
Can I answer?
Yeah,
I just wanted to address this first question, otherwise it's going to get lost. You asked, is there any one thing that would prove to me that it was a globe, for example? Because people ask me that every month or so. And the answer is going to be different, probably the way for just about everybody. But for me, yeah, just put a 4K camera on a stage. Do not hit pause. Do not hit stop. Let that camera run, and it becomes a globe, forms underneath, and let us see the footage. It's never happened in the history of space travel, ever, ever, ever. The camera's always been on the first or second stage, or they turned it off entirely.
What was the height, Aaron, if you know, what was the highest the space shuttle actually went? Do you remember?
Space shuttle?
Yeah,
250,
250.
according to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, it would have been 300 or 400. You're right, because I think they
Yeah,
prepared to
John,
help.
let me also finish answering your question about what experiment. Well, first of all, there's several. I am on the board of directors of an organization called FEIC19, which is made up of a bunch of scientists and engineers, and we're literally doing these types of experiments. But one of the ones that we've done that is very conclusive is, of course, measuring it with a laser, excuse me. And I think one of the best tests that can be done that anybody can do is to simply take a gyroscope on a commercial airliner. For example, I did this a couple of years ago on a trip to Hawaii, nonstop Denver, Hawaii, where it was a 6-hour flight, and I took a gyroscope and I simply put it on my seat back table, and according to the curvature, every 69 miles, you would be dropping, that gyroscope should drop 1 degree, right? Well, by the time you get to Hawaii, in that distance, I think I calculated it out, it was something like 46 degrees that it should have drifted. It did not. And of course, mainstream will come back and they'll say, well, one of the big arguments is they say, well, the reason that gyroscopes don't detect this Earth rotation is because it's too slow. Well, in this case, it doesn't take long in a jet airliner to go 69 miles. It takes just a few minutes. All right, so during this entire trip, that gyroscope didn't drift at all. And this is something that mainstream science acknowledges 100%. Gyroscopes claim to fate is rigidity in space. There is no way around that.
Apart from gravity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's an inertial-based device. So anybody can do this. That's the beauty of it, and it doesn't even take an extraordinarily sensitive gyroscope. And you will simply see that that gyroscope remains absolutely steady and does not move at all, where in fact it should have completely tipped over, and it doesn't do that.
Right. So do all of you agree that it's basically impossible to get a plane to the edge of the Earth?
You can get to the coast, but
Yeah, and
that's about it.
you cannot leave your country without a passport. So imagine if you take a plane, you're gonna be under radar all the time. You cannot just take a flight like, okay, this is my world, I'm gonna get on the plane and say to the pilot, okay, go straight. You cannot do it that. I mean, we live under control system completely. You cannot leave your city without the ID,
Plus, you're asking a pilot to bypass not only the GPS system but the compass as well. Find a private pilot with a heavy jet airliner that's willing to do that, to fly on site based alone.
I won't do that.
Yeah,
but I am a pilot.
It's not allowed.
Well, I think you may have answered it, but so the question was, the one experiment that.
I'm Craig Henley from Louisiana. Appreciate everything.
Following you till 12 o'clock.
Louisiana.
What's it?
I'm
No.
originally from Texas.
12 o'clock still happening?
12,
12 o'clock still happening.
12.
12. I'm going to, hey guys, we just left the press conference, so now we're going to go check out what's happening over on the main stage. And me and Michael Solomon, we already did our presentation, so we are done for the whole entire weekend. And I am super thankful for that. I just get to aimlessly walk around and talk to you guys. So I'm going to go over, hopefully see if Nate Wolf is still presenting on the main stage and get you guys a look over at that. So let's give you the sights and sounds of what has been going on. So first and foremost, if you guys are just tuning in, me and Michael spoke, and Michael did awesome. He carried me like he always does, and I fumbled around like I was a football player with butter on my hands. That was pretty much how I did. So, you can't see me? Okay. Take the lens cover off the camera. It looks like everybody can't see me, but still can't see me. Is that correct? Can anybody see me? Can anybody see me? No. Because what is a video just based upon audio? Nothing. I don't have a lens on my phone. Everything looks to be safe. Still nothing. Okay, I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to jump back in and see if we can pick up some video here.